there was a major airstrike. Over 50 killed on a mosque, and Al-Ahli was completely inundated with wounded. And we were operating all through the night. And by the early hours of yesterday morning, we had realized that we have basically run out of medication for the anesthetic machines, and we had to stop the operating room. We had finished. And that's when we made the decision. At the same time, in the early hours of the morning, there was heavy bombing all around the hospital, and really close to the hospital. You could feel the whole building being shot. And we were and it sounded like tank fire. It didn't sound like air raids. And so we made the decision that it was time for at least the operating room staff, since they were not going to be able to provide a service, to evacuate. And so yesterday morning we left, and we could hear the sounds of the tanks around the hospital when we walked out. And we literally walked all the way to Nusayrat camp in the central zone. Yesterday evening we got a message that the Ahli now had been completely surrounded by the tanks. Basically walked out. We asked people along the way which are the side roads that there were no tanks, and all along the way it was really a kind of scenes of destruction, and there were bodies on the floor, on the streets, and it took us 5 hours to reach Nusayrat. We left, there were over 500 wounded needing urgent medical care, but needing surgical intervention that we could not provide because we'd run out of medication. The operating room could no longer function. And at the best, there were 2 operating rooms in it. We were always overwhelmed with the number of wounded compared with what we were in. Some of them to Indonesian hospital. But the Indonesian hospital later on that evening was also declared that it was no longer able to provide the service. And basically the whole of northern Gaza now has no function of that there are still doctors and patients. You're leaving 500 wounded knowing that there's nothing left for you to be able to do for them. It's just the most heartbreaking thing I've ever had to do. I needed to sleep. That was the plan. I was so exhausted. We'd been operating non-stop for the last week since Al-Shifa came. And I just made the decision that I needed to sleep until I figure out what I wanted to do next.
UNRWA is now running out of fuel. We will not be able to uphold our commitment to provide for the Palestinian people any longer. I do believe there is a deliberate attempt to strangle our operation and paralyze the UNRWA operation. Many continue to flow to UNRWA shelter, where we are hosting more. Without the fuel, we will not be able to bring the relief that we are receiving from Egypt to the people in need. And clearly, if the issue of the fuel is not addressed, we run the risk to have to suspend the entire humanitarian operation. I do believe that it is outrageous that humanitarian agencies are reduced to begging for fuel and forced after that to decide who we will assist or not assist when you have such a large population in a situation of life-saving.
Just ask you, what next? When do I go now?
The UNRWA office in Gaza, Mr. Schmale, said recently in an interview.
The problem, when we talk about life-saving should not be subject of condition or bargaining. Today what we are saying is, if the fuel does not come in, people will start to die because of the lack of fuel. Now, exactly as from when, I don't know, but it will be rather soon than later.
Exodus on the watch, the river of people being forced to flee. So we're forced to live through traumas of ancestors and parents.
Because of the lack of fuel, we will not be able to send out trucks across the south or across the Gaza Strip to the various shelters where we have people waiting for humanitarian delivery.
We have 365 square kilometers unclaimed because there is almost no walking place where you have thousands of people. But then these are
A ceasefire now is urgently needed if we want to save whatever is left of our humanity. In fact, it is long overdue. I'm just receiving the information now that Gaza is again in a total communication blackout. And if it is in a total communication blackout, it's because there is no fuel. So we know, and I told to the member state, no fuel, no bakery, no fuel, no hospital, no fuel, no water, and here, no fuel, no communication, and no communication is also amplifying the anxiety and the panic, and is also accelerating the last remaining civilian order that we have in the Gaza Strip.